They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so.
What? I don't know what sort of nonsense that is, but we're going to get into it. Let's go.
Media Outlaw.
All right, welcome to Media Outlaw. This is this week's Outlaw Post, so to speak. Now, normally I do things with the written word, but there's a lot going on this week, and so I think it's best to do it by video. We also have an audio if you prefer listening to it in your car and you don't want to bring up, YouTube or whatever. And there will be a written text version of this as well at MediaOutlaw.com. So, there's our president saying something at a speech that he gave in Riyadh. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of it, let's just start up front. Many conservatives are claiming that this week was a great week for Donald Trump. I mean, after all, we have a trade framework with China was announced, a pause in the tariffs against them. That made the market shoot up. People are happy about that. I mean, maybe not the people who sold all their stock because they thought that the end of the world was coming when he instituted these tariffs, but people who hung in, or more importantly, buy when it's low, sell when it's high, they made some cash. So, good week for the president from that point of view. And he traveled over to the Middle East for this trip, where he was hailed as a hero, it seems. He was greeted more warmly than President Biden ever was, and certainly better than Kamala Harris ever would have been if she had won the presidency. So, let's take a look at some video on what that actually looked like here, courtesy of the Two-Way podcast. They put together some clips here that I think were really, really, really good. So let's take a look.
4 Saudi fighter jets provided a air escort to land. This video taken by Dan Scavino, the president's aide, who early on used to be in charge of videos. Now he just dabbles. But here's some pretty good video of the landing. All right, so he lands, and here he is, 104, being greeted on the tarmac. Oh, incredible colored carpet. I want a swatch of that. By the Crown Prince. You'll recall when Joe Biden went to Saudi, they didn't greet him at the airport. They sent low-level officials. This is being viewed as a sign of the president's close relationship with the House of Saud. And so here's the greeting. The president's tie seems to closely match the carpet. Coincidence, I'm sure. Anyway, this was an incredible arrival ceremony. The president shook 100 hands. Now, this is my favorite part of the day. 105. So then they go back to one of 100 palaces, and here's this incredible room. There's projected images of the president all over Riyadh. It's incredible. And there's this big conference going on for economic development with billionaires from around the world. So this is an incredible photo op. Chat. You can just see that the comedy is higher than the comedy. And now, this is the highlight of the day. This is 106. This is the receiving line. Okay, this was, again, while you all were sleeping, this thing was streaming on cable, mostly like the way you see it here on Sky, picture in picture. And here's members of the president's cabinet first, and you'll see there's Scott Bessent. You'll see Susie Wiles coming up in a moment. All the others are.
So that's a boss moment, right? I mean, that looks good. That was, Donald Trump loves to be, loves his flattery. Here's some other pictures that I got from someone on Facebook. We got the cyber trucks here. Look at these with the camos and King's Parade or something like that. Honor Guard. I mean, wow. I mean, I tell you, this is looks really, really good. And my favorite, look at this. The world's largest or tallest, building in the world, the Burj Khalifa. lit up in the American flag colors. Ooh, we've gone from the great Satan to on their buildings. Isn't that interesting, don't you think? Yeah. So look, any way you cut it, this is great. This is great optics, right? Like you can't deny that the optics are good on this. However, from an operational and directional point of view and policy point of view, for where this administration, this 2.0 version of Trump goes forward, this was a terrible week. Terrible week. And I'm going to explain to you why. All right. It kind of starts before he even got on the plane. In a press conference, I think a day or two before he was to take off for the Middle East, he had a press conference and he had this to say about the Yemen Houthis.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated. But more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that. So
really? The Houthis don't want to fight anymore? It's like since when? Like literally the week before this press conference, they sent missiles into Israel. And now all of a sudden they don't want to fight? That seems rather odd to me. When I heard it, I was like, who's lying to the president? They're jihadis. They always want to fight. They're always happy to attack America or American interests or Israel on the behest of Iran. Everybody knows this. This is not a secret. This is not complicated. But we stopped the bombings. We know where their camps are, but we're not going to bomb them now, where they make their bombs and they hoard and gather their ammo, where they take their deliveries from Iran of military hardware that they're going to use to attack shipping lanes or Israel or a U.S. air base where we happen to be stationed at. You never know with them. You just know that they're going to do it. But no. We're going to take them at their word like we did Hamas, right? So when I heard this, I should have known something was going on. I should have realized that nonsense was forthcoming. But honestly, I wasn't prepared. I was not prepared for what I saw our president do in front of MBS and a bunch of dignitaries in Riyadh. Let's take just a small snippet of this nonsensicalness, and you tell me if this makes any sense to you.
In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
Look at MBS. He's just clapping. Look at the smile on his face. Embrace that heritage. Does he mean the heritage that flew planes into the Twin Towers? I'm going to keep this one looped, by the way, because it's important. Does he mean the heritage and traditions that preaches anti-Semitism and wants to eradicate Jews globally, that treats women as third-class citizens, and that trains boys how to strap on suicide bombs and blow up cafes, is that the heritage that we're talking about, that we're going to encourage them to embrace? That's what we're doing now, Mr. President? Who wrote this speech? Some freelancer from Obama's team? Like, I mean, come on. It's fine to say we don't want a nation build as a dig at the scary neocons, but you do that at home, at a joint speech to Congress or the State of the Union. You do not have these types of conversations on a foreign relations trip to the Middle East. This was Obama's apology tour 2.0. If a Democrat had said any of what we just heard, Republicans would have went through the roof. And you know what? I'm going to prove it to you right now. Let's pull up Obama's apology tour. Yes. Let's take a look at this. And early in his time as president, and I want you to keep in mind something. This is at the Heritage Foundation. Keep that in mind, because we're going to come back to that. But they've got this list of the top 10 apologies for the, Barack Obama did for the presidency when he went on his tour. Yeah, he went over to France and apologized, saying that, America, there's a failure to appreciate Europe's leading role in the world. And we've been too arrogant, too dismissive, too derisive toward Europe and the rest of the world. No, that was a nice thing to say. And then, of course, he went over to the Muslim world, just like Donald Trump did. And, America was not born as a colonial power. And that we are not your enemy. I mean, they did send bombs and planes to us, but, whatever. We must be willing to acknowledge past errors and why those errors have been made. Well, that's a nice thing to say in another country. Point here is, even if you agree with those things, or you think that in of itself saying something like that in the speech is not that big of a deal, it was certainly a big deal to Republicans. The Sean Hannitys, the Laura Ingrams, even Bill O'Reilly, they all had a problem with him going over there and saying those sorts of things overseas. You're not supposed to do it. But he did. And the Heritage Foundation, as evidenced by this right here, they weren't happy with it. But guess what they did this week? They're cheering on Donald Trump's new non-confrontational style. Look, this is just ridiculous. Here's the problem. Donald Trump has too many hippy-dippy Democrats around him. They're pulling him to the left. They're pulling him toward not being peaceful, but being a peacenik, a dove, somebody who is afraid of confrontation, who goes out of their way to avoid it. He keeps talking about peace through strength, but I'm not seeing that. At best, we're getting peace through, let's avoid conflict. At worst, we're getting peace through appeasement, which never works. Never works. Appeasement almost got Britain overrun by the Nazis. It caused the Afghanistan disaster. Peace is not achieved through avoiding conflict. If Trump wants to send a message to neocons, then fine, but you do that in America, not in the Middle East, not by praising a culture that solves problems with suicide bombs. Now look, I understand Muslims are prickly. They can take offense a lot easier and quicker than a bunch of people in Europe. But that doesn't mean you send that type of message. I mean, literally, a month and a half ago, he sent J.D. Vance over to Europe to criticize them, gave them a real tongue lashing, but he's out here playing patty cake in Saudi Arabia? What are we doing here? This is not the Trump of 2016. It's ridiculous. I don't know what's going on with him other than he has too many Democrats around him. And there's going to be a price to pay for that. There always is. No one is saying he needs to go out and be a warmonger. But thus far on foreign relations, Donald Trump is not the man of 2016. He is not demonstrating strength. Like with Russia, he is going out of his way to say all sorts of nice things about the nation that actually invaded somebody else. He's got his, Steve Witkoff going out on news programs saying, well, there's two sides to every story. Really? Is there? There's a second side to invading a sovereign nation that did not attack you? I don't remember reading that in the policy book anywhere in my life. This is nonsensical. And look, I get it. There's some of you that watch this video or read the subsequent written column and say, oh, there's another person, another liberal with TDS. Nah, slow your roll. I voted for this man 3 times. I've been a Republican longer than his ass has been. I've been conservative longer. Well, he's still not conservative. So there's that. You can't accuse me of that. What I'm doing is looking at what I'm seeing and not liking it, and holding him accountable to the same standard that we hold everybody else. If we take that same exact speech, these same exact words, and just replace them with Kamala Harris saying them, I mean, assuming that she could get through the speech, but that's a separate issue, we would be blowing our tops. We'd be like, what is she doing? This is not the way and the message to send to the rest of the world. But for some reason, it's okay because it's the Donald. And it's not. Appeasement is not going to get it done. Not with Russia, not with China, not with anyone. Right now, put it this way. You've heard the saying, I'm sure. Walk softly, carry a big stick. Right now, people in Trump's cabinet has him walking softly without a stick. They've told him, you don't need it because we're not going to swing it at anybody anyway. I understand. You can talk about the bombing that we did to the Houthis, a bunch of goat herders that are really going to rise up and do something to America. Where is this energy when it comes to something that matters, like Russia? Russia's looking at us and like, they're afraid to fight. I'm going to keep going. And from his point of view, can you blame him? I mean, we all know he attacked Ukraine when there was a Democrat in office because he knew they wouldn't do anything. And right now, Trump isn't doing anything except yelling at Ukraine. We talked tough about what Hamas was supposed to do with the people they kidnapped. And we just got the last American alive back just a few days ago. That was supposed to happen in the first month. Why didn't it? Because there are people who are telling Trump no. Right now, he's going to go ahead and try to make a deal with Iran. instead of just bombing the facilities like we should have years ago. We've made deals with Iran. Obama did. Biden did. Did they ever stop working on their nuclear program? No, they did not. You think they're going to just because Donald's in office right now? Well, he doesn't seem like he's going to bomb them, so no, they are not. Peace through strength comes from demonstrating strength. The Donald Trump of 2016 did that. Thus far in foreign relations, I don't see this at all. And that's all I've got to say about this subject, but guess what? There's a few other things that we have to go over that happened this week. You have any comments, questions, feedback, put them down below in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the Media Outlaw Substack and just pay attention to what's going on, because let me tell you, it's not as rosy as some people would have you think.